And we are live, guys.
Yeah.
Sorry. Just so everybody knows, everybody's mic's live. We are live. Guys, we were hoping, and when I say guys, just so everybody can check out who we've got on the program, we have, of course, Jeffrey Wilson and Pat Miletich. Why does that not work? Oh, there we go. Pat Miletich right here on the bottom. And we were going to be talking about this caged aggression event, and I was stoked about it. It was going to be the first time I did some color commentary for Pro MMA with two legends of the game in both podcasting and now calling MMA. And, of course, Pat being a UFC Hall of Famer and coaching so many champions through Miletich Fighting Systems. I was excited. And I get there yesterday, and guess what happens? I hear the guy talking, and now they're going to shut it down. And then the Iowa governor declares a disaster. And for the first time, Iowa is now shut down after 10 p.m. for any kind of nightlife. Gentlemen, what are you thinking?
I would love to say I'm shocked. I would love to say that I'm shocked. I was technically, prepping for this, planning for it. Had booked my hotel and everything. And something told me, she does frequent press conferences, but I saw the governor had a press conference set for today at 10 a.m. So I thought that was going to be the big announcement, but it was last night at 6 p.m. And, it's frustrating, man. I mean, on so many different levels, I wanted to go do this. I would, love to have gotten that check. So many people have already made travel arrangements. Mike Goodwin, the promoter, I mean, he's out a shit ton of money. It's not even really just about him. This is just one of many of small businesses that have now had it been made impossible for them to fucking make a living. And I don't know, man. I don't know. We've seen now what happened with round one shutdown as far as suicide, domestic violence, children's visits to the ER, and businesses closing and individuals just being unemployed. I don't know how people are going to be able to sustain this. Not only them individually, but their businesses.
And you, Pat?
Yeah. No, well, look, I listened to her talk for a while, and she sounded completely deflated, like somebody was holding her head, basically, right?
Mm-hmm.
She was sitting there saying, "He wants to do this. I don't want to do this." But then, I listened a little closer when she said, "If you're going to be in an enclosed space, a building, longer than 15 minutes, and you can't just social distance, you need to wear a mask." I go, okay, so I'm going to go to the grocery store, and when somebody says something to me about a mask, I'm going to say, "Don't worry about it. I'm only going to be here for 14 minutes and 59 seconds, and then I'll be out."
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it'll be cool, right? So there's no logic to any of this. People at some point have got to get through their heads. I just listened to an Oxford educated virologist in Canada, and they had a Skype meeting about people. I'm talking like 100 people on this meeting, and he's flat out, he gave his credentials first and all the different departments. He was head of virology and pathology. And this guy knows what he's talking about, and he goes, "Masks are utterly useless." That's how he said it. They're utterly useless.
Well, I mean, let's
that
look
you
at
cannot contain a virus.
Mm-hmm.
That you cannot contain a virus. All you can do is try to protect those who are vulnerable. That's all you can do. This is literally, quoting him again, merely a bad flu season.
Well, again, the flu has been eradicated in the Southern Hemisphere, according to the WHO. I mean, that's a real thing. We've covered it here. Governor Newsom, he can go out, even though they have the largest state restrictions. And I did notice that 15 minutes. So I've told people already, like when I went and got my coffee today, I didn't have to wear a mask. They're still not enforcing it. I'm still not planning on wearing one at Walmart, just like you said, because it's going to be under 15 minutes. But I had hopes because with the exception of high school, collegiate, and professional sports, all organized youth and adult sports activities of any size are suspended. So I was hoping that was the loophole that was going to keep the caged aggression event together. I've said it as of last night, the time for inaction is over, and we have to mass organize where we now start storming the Congress and Senate of each state and demand these lockdowns are done. Because if we don't, none of this is going to end. Yeah. We're at that point, and I'm not advocating for violence. I think that, number one, anybody who even discusses the possibility of militias is going to be labeled a domestic terrorist, and in these uncertain times, they could be rounded up or worse. And the bottom line is we have to use our strength of the fact they are locking us out of society to go have sit-ins and storm these places, whether it be on the lawns of D.C., in the Capitol there, or throughout each state. I just don't see another way that we're going to overcome the autocrats that are trying to instill a great reset, guys.
Well, and again, the compliance that we give is basically acquiescence. Just remember the movie War Games. The best way to win is not to play. We just cannot participate in the reindeer games anymore. And what are they going to do? Fine us all? Close all of our businesses? I mean, we got to, like you said, the time for inaction is over. Frank Trambrutti and Ian, I forget his last name, the guys over the New Jersey Attila's gym. They've been going through this for, months and months and months, having their, gym shut down, losing their business license. I mean, at the end of the day, there's got to be some measure of mass pullback because there's just more of us now that are saying, go fuck yourself, than there is people that are, I guess I don't have the stats on that, but like you said, inaction's not an option anymore.
I mean, the way I'm looking at it right now, guys, because everybody's like, you just moved there, Jason. What are you going to do? Well, when Scott Atlas, who is the person they put as the COVID head of the task force, after it was very apparent that Fauci was completely political, let's go over the timeline of masks, for instance. In the beginning, what they told you an N95 mask could be effective against a virus, maybe, and that everything else probably couldn't be effective. Okay, Fauci tells you it's just a symbolic measure. Now it's any type of cloth over your face, and Fauci's telling you even after a vaccine is administered to 90% of the population. I'm talking 90%. That's what they want. No vaccine has ever been given to 90% of the population, by the way. After that, you're still going to have to social distance, and you'll probably still have to wear a mask as well to protect that other 10%. Guys, this is ludicrous.
Yeah, it's beyond. Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. Why politicians are doing what they're doing. It's. I think it goes much deeper than, their political image and all this other stuff and caring people. Many are obviously compromised. Many are compromised. And, I've said it before. I can't remember the general's name that gave the speech, but he's goes through and he's right about the four main groups of people that are the most powerful in the world during history. First was the conquerors, again, then the religious leaders, then the leaders of nations, and now it's the CEOs of large pharmaceutical corporations and technology. And these are the people that are now, they own the narrative, they own all the information, and they control the politicians. And the politicians are their slaves. They're slaves. So those are the people that need to be brought down.
The unelected bureaucrats, it's
and human rights violations,
without a doubt.
Them
and the
too.
Thing is,
yeah,
there's so much shit to get pissed off at, and I've honestly, literally, the last few days, have had to kind of pull back. People could call it however they want. You know what I mean? I think this is an extension of the eagle versus the reptile, like my good friend Matt LaCroix talks about. These people, these dark magicians, if you will, controlling the direction of humanity. So, in my opinion, and this doesn't sound pessimistic because there does have to be a pushback, and I think they understand that this is something larger. This is whatever it is, Agenda 21, Agenda 2030, the technocracy, Klaus Schwab and his plans of all of this, Elon Musk's, Internet of Things. This is all the global reset, political, social, financial, that has been talked about for a long time. So I think whether Joe gets in or Trump gets in, there's no derailing that train.
Well, again, we were talking about... Go ahead.
Potentially, I think with military action and scooping people up, I think things can be changed. Let's just pray that that's what's coming.
See, I'm beyond prayers. I think that, again, especially right now in the situation that we're in, we need to group up now. They're already announcing now in Iowa. They're supposed to look at it until December 10th. Well, Joe Biden just announced if you're going to have Thanksgiving, we don't think it should be with more than 5 people is the suggestion, 10 people max, social distancing at your Thanksgiving. Okay, social distancing at your Thanksgiving. And that's a wrap. That's incredibly terrible. I mean, I don't think that any of that is okay. They're distancing you from your family. When we look at, for instance, the CDC putting out that 300,000 more people are estimated who have died this year, well, they start that in January. Didn't it come here around March? Why are those two in there? And then are they going to include the overall numbers of suicides and other things that happen other than COVID against COVID? I don't believe 300,000 extra people have died this year until we see the top numbers. And then I want to see the rates of things that may have been caused by COVID, perhaps elderly people that didn't die of COVID, but more than likely died of a broken heart in isolation because they can't see their families, guys.
Yeah. It's really hard to quantify these numbers for real, simply because they've just lied through their teeth about this. They've been financially incentivized to put people on ventilators and death certificates. There was some mortician, he was just like, this is unreal. There's car accidents, COVID. I mean, they're just lying about it. So I mean, it's just, the CDC revamps their numbers supposedly now. I guess only 9,000 plus, I think the number is, of people who actually died from COVID, and the other huge amount was all comorbidity related. So I mean, it's a work, man. It's a big fucking work, and go get tested if you want to. But the more people they test, the more people are going to test positive. But for me, the litmus test is who's being hospitalized and who's dying. And those numbers have plummeted since March. You might have some spikes here and there. But again, the cure can't be worse than the fucking disease, and it is.
And you know what? Trump just said that even at that Operation Warp Speed presentation he got, the only time he's really talked to the press, he took no questions. This has not been talked about, and I think it really needs to be. This was published 4 days ago by the British Medical Journal. 180 years the British Medical Journal has been around. It is about as an authoritative source as it gets. And this is the headline. And by the way, this is not some op-ed. This is one of their executive editors writing this about this. COVID-19 politicization, corruption, and suppression of science. And even with the authoritative therapeutics that they're putting out there, they're going to cost you thousands. You know what's going to be free? The vaccine. And that's what should really scare Operation Warp Speed people is, okay, I'm about to have Dr. Bartlett on after you guys, and he has a treatment called budesonide that is unauthoritative, yet it'll cost you $30, and he's using it across the board in Texas. Well, if you want remdesivir, that's $3,000. If you want dextromethasone, you're talking about a few thousand more. So obviously, even if they can't shame you into this, they may actually just go after you and say, well, you can't afford it. You got to take the vaccine.
Well, and then, enter the whole... I'm sorry, go ahead, Pat.
People have got to shake their heads and shake this fear out of their heads. They have got to wake up, man. They have got to go out and just lead their lives. And when people harass you about not wearing a mask, things like that, just say, God, it's mind-boggling. It's mind-boggling. I've only been confronted by 2 people. Once was a security guard in Atlanta, in the Tabernacle, in the place we were doing the broadcast, and once by a very overweight gentleman in a gas station in Kansas. And I told him, dude, you've never cared about your health. It's obvious you've never once cared about your health. And now I'm going to save you with a mask. Are you kidding me? You're eating donuts for your life. I'm like, yeah, it's maddening. So anyway, turn off my microphone. My dogs are going nuts.
That's all right.
Well, and even if it doesn't become, officially mandatory, where the military is on the streets and there's lines of people taking it, into this whole social credit system, they're going to make it mandatory. You're not going to be able to operate in society. You're not going to be able to go to the store, get on the bus, go to this UFC fight, go to the baseball game. Ticketmaster's already got their shit already ready to roll out. They're going to make it like mandatory, kind of almost die by default. You're not going to be able to participate in society in this new normal without participating in this shit.
Ticketmaster's pulled back, by the way. I want to say this.
What?
Ticketmaster's pulled back, and here's why I have hope, guys.
Good shit.
Yeah, exactly.
That was a test run.
Exactly.
That was a test run, right?
They beta test that, but look what just happened in Denmark, too. They tried to authorize mandatory COVID-1984 vaccines, and that was it. No way. We had millions, it's not being reported here, but you had millions of people in the streets, and they overturned it. So now it's not going to be mandatory. Well, I'm telling you right now, forget about the vaccine issue. Okay, we're going to have a period of chaos right now with this election that's just coming to fruition as these states are now being certified. So that's going to be the next step to a Supreme Court. Okay, we're already seeing more corruption in Georgia today, some of the votes being flipped, and even Politico saying, boy, some of these anomalies are pretty unexplained. Jeez. And Politico's been no friend to anybody. So all I'm saying is amidst this chaos, we need to push back against the lockdowns even before we push back against the vaccines. Because as I've been saying, guys, it's not like we're nose to nose with these people. When I say push back, we're already on the ground. There is a boot on our throats, and there may already be a bullet in our arms. This is it. We got to figure out some Pat Miletich ankle lock moves, pull them to the ground, get up over them and say, it's Constitution, Bill of Rights, baby, and none of this authoritarian nonsense.
Well, don't we find that the timing odd? Right, is this, people have been talking about civil war since 2016, if not before, and we're literally almost at the precipice of that, and now we're getting lockdowns throughout the country.
It is,
and again, this is a part of that, long-term game. China as the beta test. It's so weird for me right now because I don't think it's all WWE. That's not always when I say that. I don't think they all necessarily like each other. Yes, there's some real shit going on. But like this is almost the base level shit we're fighting over. You know what I mean? The two brands of fucking ice cream we're fighting over are owned by the same company. But yet here we are brawling about it when the long game is like we are acquiescing to shit that we don't even realize we're acquiescing to. And I've said this before. We all kind of have to take some ownership of where we're at right now. After 2001, 9/11, take your shoes off. We're going to listen to your phone call. We might snatch you up. I might have a lawyer. But we were like, okay, to fight this invisible enemy. So here we are 20 years later fighting yet another invisible enemy, giving up shit that you just can't necessarily take back, man. The silence or the compliance is the acquiescence. We've gone on with this shit for way too long.
I absolutely agree. And as to what I don't think is WWE, I've been focusing in on the fact that Justin Trudeau has now said they're going to go with the Agenda 2030. He's in on the reset.
I saw that.
You've seen Klaus Schwab, who's the head of the World Economic Forum since the beginning in 1998. Well, I've been showing people that these connections are long-term. For instance, in 1998, they're talking about that 21st digital and economic revolution, the fourth industrial revolution. Who's sitting on the board? Well, it's Bill Gates and Microsoft with Klaus Schwab, and they love each other. And then who's giving the keynote speech about the fourth industrial revolution in 2016, next to Klaus Schwab, who's introducing him? Well, it's Joe Biden. And Joe Biden's not only talking about automation, the already hollowing out in 2016 of the middle class, but he also discusses his cozy relationship with Xi Jinping and how he's had at least 24 dinners with him at that point. And I mean, they just openly tell you, he's like, we want a better world, but we do know that the middle class has been hollowed out, and we're going to push forward no matter what. I mean, he talks about everything from vaccines that will be tailor-made to your own DNA to stop cancer, to stopping certain diseases and birth defects in utero via the same in real-time technology, guys.
It's Gattaca. Remember the movie Gattaca with, I think it was Ethan Hawke, where they basically, selected genes out of your sequence to make these perfect, supposedly perfect people. But also, I'm going to massacre the name, but you guys will probably correct me. It's like Scientifica or whatever. The guy who's leading Biden's transition team is one on the board or the head of the Scientifica, where they specialize in rigging elections, building smart cities. I mean, it's absolutely insane on its face.
It is absolutely
the fictitious office of the president-elect.
Yeah.
These clowns.
But we laugh about it. But
clowns,
again, perception is reality, and people don't even want to look at the possibility of voter fraud because their guy won and they had a severe mental illness towards one individual candidate, so it couldn't ever happen. It doesn't matter how many times I play the video of Jimmy Carter in 2005. A lot of people want to focus in on the fact that he said, well, mail-in ballots will be rife with fraud. Well, one of the things that they were talking about was basically promoting a ID act where if you were to register to vote, they would come and bring you the ID that you took a picture for, you could vote, the whole thing, making sure one person, one vote, you had to show up in person to do so, and if not, you had an identification card to get the mail-in ballot. Well, he also said, well, how about these digital voting machines? He goes, the fact that you can't audit them or that we're not even auditing 1 to 2% randomly will mean that these things are rife with fraud. I mean, almost verbatim. And he said, the fact you don't get a receipt, it could be rife for fraud. None of these things happen. This is 15 years ago. And they've, instead of combated that type of election fraud availability, they've encouraged it and enabled it so they could do things just like this.
Or when they say things like glitch, I'm technologically pretty ignorant. I don't know about most people, but they use things like a glitch to describe votes being flipped. But when you listen to some of these IT people, like, no, there's no glitch. They're doing what they're programmed to do. So if they're flipping every other vote for Biden or Trump or whatever, that's what it's programmed to do.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. I had today a friend of mine who's very, very liberal, lives in New York. He's in the TV world. He's a great guy, very, very kind person. But on one of my posts today, he said, all I see is somebody wearing a tinfoil hat. That was his comment. And I said, hey, listen, I'm not going to say his name, but listen, you have to at least be willing to challenge your own views on any subject matter of what you're discussing when you're holding a conversation with someone, Chuck. And I said, we know for fact that the NSA did create this stuff. The CIA did use these computer programs to flip votes for puppets that we wanted in power in other nations. And how would you be surprised that it would be used in this nation eventually? How would it even remotely surprise you? I haven't looked to see if he wrote back, but this is the type of mindset, people that are actually very intelligent people, but they just can't, I don't know, they just can't question their narrative.
It's that confirmation.
Or the narrative that's getting crammed in his throat.
Right. I mean, everyone's got that normalcy bias, confirmation bias, or whatever it is, where it's just like, and it's so we're seeing it right now. Obviously, what Jason said, the Trump derangement syndrome. They spent 3.5 years saying, fucking Trump colluded with every Russian oligarch, et cetera, et cetera. It's so deep, blah, blah, blah. And they spent 3.5 years, trying to chase that down and nothing. But then, we're 3-4 weeks out saying, no, there's maybe some fraud here. And that's fucking impossible. You'd see unicorns fucking leprechauns before you saw the fraud in the election. It's just like, wow.
It's mind-boggling because in order to do this, they have to act like voter fraud or election fraud has never existed or ballot stuffing has never existed. If there isn't historical precedent, even going back to the Kennedy election of the presidency of rampant voter
or the
fraud.
LBJ, I think it was box 12 or box 24 or whatever it was.
It was over the top. Both Nixon and him were doing it at the time. But I mean, they both got caught after the fact, and it's kind of just in the annals of history. You look at even last election, and I think that this is vital. In the one place, and I just can't say this enough, I've never thought that Trump lost the popular vote last time. And everybody knows I'm no MAGA guy. I'm no Trump thumper. I put Roger Stone on the spot last night about John Bolton. I did everything I could. My buddy put him on the spot on Assange. That's not what I am. But I always thought, man, if they actually did a recount, I bet you Trump dominates the actual vote. And sure enough, in the one place they started recounting, in one county, I believe it was, in Wisconsin, they picked up, depending on the report you get out there, 131 to 301 votes for Trump at the request of Hillary Clinton. It was this big Jill Stein scandal, and they were like, fucking shut that down. Shut that shit down right now. Because all of a sudden, if they find in one state, like they go, oh, that's odd. Why don't we look at the rest of the state of Wisconsin? And all of a sudden he has 10, 15,000 more votes. Well, then all of a sudden you can't make that argument. The American people wanted the Democrats. The American people wanted Hillary Clinton. And this is my personal opinion. I probably shouldn't put it on my YouTube channel, but I'm not an authoritative source, and I'm going to put it out there. I believe that if we counted every legal, actual vote, okay, and we looked at every single script, Trump would win by 10 million votes easily in this country. That's how I feel about it. I could be wrong. I am not saying I'm presenting any evidence, but to say that there is no evidence of any kind of irregularities or fraud, or that it's okay for Dominion to sit there and have a machine that counts and have a woman testify that she saw people running the ballots through 4 or 5 times as they were counted in stacks of 50, okay? She signed the affidavits. She said, we said it. We should investigate that. That's all I'm saying, gentlemen. So as we wrap this up, because I've got Bartlett coming up, when's the next conspiracy farm? I know you guys just had Charlie Robinson on. What can we expect from both of you?
We've got actually here in about a half hour, we're going to do a swap cast with Gordon Rockford from those conspiracy guys. Always love chatting with that dude. And just lining up some stuff for either later this week or early next week. It's like I said, I got another message today, like, where the hell are you guys at? The world's coming apart. And you guys, I mean, for a myriad of reasons, Pat has been in the middle of a move. I've been like working like crazy. It's just, I mean, I'm not making excuses. And I told this to you, Burmans, when I saw you at the Militich fight. You pump shit out like nobody's business. And there's so many people out there doing that very thing. And so I really can't make excuses as to why we don't stay on content. We just have our lives to live, man, and we have to prioritize this shit, and we're doing the best we can. So we're actually, like I said, we're fired back up. We kind of set up a podcast network. That podcast network is what it's called. We're over there on Rockfin. We got the Conspiracy Farm over there, Everything Combat, and my personal podcast. It's me speaking to you, and we're going to be probably adding more shows here in the near future. So we're getting the machine back up and running, especially now that things are really coming to a head. So we haven't gone anywhere. Just had to take a little break, man.
And yourself, Pat? Oh, did we freeze him up? I think.
Well,
there you go.
Go
ahead.
Here.
Yep.
Hear me?
Yep. Or
Yeah, no, I it's been crazy. It's been crazy for me. More so than Jeff. Jeff and busy as well, but I mean, I've had craziness selling the house, moving, working, traveling. I'm leaving again on Thursday to Kansas, another official on UFC Friday night. Great show. So hopefully they can tune in, and then I'm going to be driving back Saturday.
Well, I will be tuning in, even though you're kicking in and out. That is LFA over on UFC Fight Pass. And if you're not watching the LFA, if you're a hardcore like me, so many of these guys are coming in, and you're seeing them on the prelims or sometimes even on the main cards of some of these fight nights, literally weeks after fighting in the LFA. And it's just a great organization. It's so great that you get to call those fights. You're one of the best in the business, Pat. And again, I hope looking forward into the future that we can have some MMA events in Iowa and we push back and Caged Aggression's somehow able to recoup some costs, because what's happened in this state right now and what's happening to small businesses everywhere is a tragedy.
It is. It is. We got to fight back, brother.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you guys on the flip side. Everybody, we are deemed harmful content, or maybe, I'm not sure, because I'm still here. Am I borderline? Am I harmful? It's 7+ months of demonetization. You want to support this broadcast, $5, $10, $15. It means the world to me. It's how I'm able to do this multiple times a day, live streaming. That's the Conspiracy Farm. Let's get the thumbs up. Over 400 watching. Not even 200 thumbs up yet. And guys, I don't know what to say. We have to start organizing. And that's the bottom line. And, if there are people out with some means of doing so, start contacting me in the DMs on the Twitter, because this is it. I'm going to start going into my contacts. We got to start storming the gates. I keep saying that. Peaceful protests, Occupy style, if you will. But we got to say these lockdowns are enough. Make a Rockfin. Right now, ROKFIN. We got at least one exclusive over there today that's an hour and 45 minutes long. You're looking at it behind me. It's still free. If you do get a premium subscription, that does help me. You get everybody's premium content. Right now, crypto is exploding on the Bitcoin end. It was over 17,000 earlier today. I saw Ether approaching 500. Who knows where it's going to go, but it's definitely an active day on that market. Make sure you check out all the documentary films: Loose Change, Final Cut, Fabled Enemies, Invisible Empire, A New World Order to Find, and Shade the Motion Picture right here, right now for free. Thumbs the video up, subscribe, share. Let's get to 60, 75, 100,000 before they arbitrarily pull me from this platform due to selective enforcement and the fact that it's not about left or right. It's about right and wrong. So I will see all you guys on the flip side.